Hi everyone, my name is Gift and you're welcome to Gift and Shake Couture. So in today's tutorial, I want to show you how to cut your fabric bit to avoid zip bulge and how to be conscious of certain patterns when you are cutting your fabric. Alright, so for this tutorial, these are the few materials that I have at home. There are more, but some of them they do not have patterns, so I'm just going to start with this one. Okay, for example, you want to cut something like this. When you see something like this, you can see the pattern here is apple, pineapple rather. This is a pineapple pattern. So when you see something like this, you are not just going to turn the fabric and cut it anyhow. This is when you have to put your consciousness in place and then see how the apple would be. Alright, so if you place this pattern like this to cut and then you fold it to this side, it will bring out this pattern and everything will be standing. You can see how the pineapple is standing. I don't know why I keep saying apple. So anyways, let's just listen. So you place it, you see how the pineapple is, but if you alter with this pattern, definitely it is either you cut it like this. If you don't know how to cut, it is either you cut it upside down, and that's the reason I'm here, for you to know that there are certain ways to cut some fabrics when it comes to pattern drafting. Not really pattern, whether you're using freehand or you're using pattern drafting. All right, this is what you should be conscious of. All right, so you can see just like the way this thing is. Now if I turn it to this other side, I have used this fabric to sew a top before. So you can see if you turn it to this other side and then you start cutting, the pineapple will be upside down. Also, there are some fabrics that you will see a love shape on it, and when you turn it upside down, that shape will not be there. So you have to take note of it again. Another fabric that I would love to, there are so many different patterns, lots of patterns, okay, on fabrics. For example, if you want to sew a stripe for a customer, there are some customers that just like to manage fabrics. All right, so when they bring something like this and they say a particular style to you, you just have to ask them, how do you want the fabric to be? What I'm telling you is from experience. Before, when I was operating my shop, there was one of my customers that bought a fabric from me, a stripe fabric. The mistake, when she just wanted to sew a short, and finally I decided that 2 yards, or I think it was 2.5 yards, would be enough for her, like a shirt and a short. Guess what I did? So I'm just telling you from my own experience. Instead of these fabrics to be like this, because this is the beauty of this fabric, I had to turn it to this other side instead of allowing this fabric to stand vertically. All right, I had to turn it to this side, and then it came out like this horizontally, which she didn't like at the end of the day, and she had to gift that two piece to one of her friends. Okay, so you should be conscious of it. And when a customer brings something like this, I know you must have seen patterns everywhere. Some they cut it horizontal, because I notice when it comes to that horizontal cutting, it will help you save fabric. Okay, but when you are cutting it vertically, it will consume lots of fabrics. But you must always ask, okay, you must always ask, which one do you prefer? Ask your customers, how do they want it? Some of them don't know, but it is always advisable to cut it straight like this. Okay, cut it straight like this, explain to them the reason, and then we are done with this one. Unless it depends on how you just want to maintain the pattern, you can use it vertically, horizontally. You can cut the same stripe fabric um diagonally, all right, depending on how you want to manipulate this pattern. Okay, so we are done with this one. Let's keep this one aside. Another pattern, like I said, these are the few fabrics that I can use to show you, is this one. This is an Ankara fabric. This is an Ankara fabric, and you can see, looking at this one, there is no pattern. I like, you can use any of this and it will stand. But one thing I want you to know is that when you are sewing a fitted dress, like a female dress, you have to be conscious of it, because when it comes to this, like this Ankara is not stretchy. That means if you cut it anyhow, there won't be any zip bolt at the back. Okay, so but it is always advisable to cut your fabric border to border. All right, so what I mean border to border is this side, instead of cutting it like this, folding your fabric like this, okay, you're going to go ahead and turn this pattern like this and then cut. And make sure you iron, always iron your fabric you cut. Okay, place your fabric like this, iron it, and then cut it out. With this, it will be, you can see, even though this is a cheap Ankara, but it still stretch. Okay, you can see how it is. So I will use another Ankara fabric to show you what I really mean. But assuming you cut this fabric like this, this stretchiness, you can see the way this fabric is, it will affect your zip. That's why sometimes you see a beautiful outfit, at the end of the day it will still have zip bolt. This is one of the things that you need to be conscious of. Like I said, you have to cut it border to border, depending, please note, depending on how the pattern is. In a situation where you can't cut it border to border, when you are about to sew, when you are using your interface, you have to put like 1 inch or 1.5 stay or paper stay on the zipper line, okay, to avoid the zip bolt. Okay, in a situation where you cannot alter the pattern. Okay, so let me get into another fabric with you. This is another Ankara. This one is original Ankara. You can see with this one, like I said, before you cut your fabric, you have to iron it. Okay, even if it's 6 yards, just iron. Make sure you iron the parts that you are going to, the yards that you are going to use. Okay, so this is what I mean. Let's use this because this one is original Ankara and this one doesn't have pattern. You can cut it anyway. For example, if you decide to cut it like this, you don't want to use this border to border method that I told you earlier. You can, what I mean, see, if you cut, you can see how this one is stretchy. You can just see how this one is stretched like this. So if you cut this material, you can cut the front like this. Okay, but the back, in a situation where you cut the back and the back has a zipper and then you don't want it to bud, all you need to do is just for you to put stay, because if you sew it and leave it like this, put your zipper, there is no way it will not be balding at the back. Okay, because there are sometimes I'll see beautiful outfits, when you check the back is 0. So you have to take note of this, be conscious of this thing. But another thing is, if you also decide to cut this fabric border to border like this, let's say this is the front, we are not using the front, when you are cutting, you are not going to use the front, you are cutting using the back. If you decide to use it border to border, you will notice that this is not going to stretch. Okay, even though there are some fabrics that both sides always stretch. Okay, But whenever you are handling such fabric, make sure you add your stay or pepper stay to it. Okay, so we are done with this one, and this is a chiffon fabric as well. Like this one, there is no pattern on it, so you can cut it anyhow you want it. Chiffon, most of the time they are not stretchy. Even though they are stretchy, you just have to know how to go about it. I believe with these few points of mine, you are able to I've been able to teach you some few tips that I know. Okay, and I believe you understand it. So thank you so much for watching. See you in my next video. All right, bye.